Morning, everybody. See a nice, thank you again for joining us this morning for this next series of webinars, the Multiviewer. We're going to switch up the format a little bit here. It's myself, the same Joel Terensky and Jason Wines are here to help. And actually, Joel's going to be presenting this this webinar today because he has actually a Spyder in his possession, which is wonderful. So we can actually see the real output on his webcam. So, so with that, I will hand it over to Joel. I'm going to hand over the presenter tools here to Joel. And Joel is on there. There you go.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Peter. So what I want to do is show my my screen here. Peter, can you just confirm that you are seeing the image here of the system patch output?
Yes, I do see your system patch output slide.
Okay, great. All right, so multi-viewers in Spyder. X80 is we call it a multi-viewer. X20 is an operator's monitor, and there is a difference between the two in Spyder. Any output on an X20 can be an OpMon program preview, confidence monitoring. In X80, we are multi-viewer terminology, and it's on the fourth output of every output card. So on a 16 output chassis, you get 4 multi-viewers, and every one of these multi-viewers can be custom user definable with what I call multi-viewer presets. Okay, so when I open up my Spyder software here, so here is a configuration file I have made. It's a 2x2 video wall. I've got some content on my my pixel canvas here. But I want to have a multi-viewer. Well, how do I access this? I have a multi-viewer built on output 8, which is that fourth output of that card. But I need to get access to it so I can start recalling presets, building customizable multi-viewer references here. So I need to go under the View tab. So here. And go to multi-viewer setup and just fire that off. And that will bring me to my multi-viewer configuration window. And if you'll see here, it has, here I'll just kind of clap some of these things. Multi-viewer setup, I have right now just 2 multi-viewers set up on 8 and output 16. I could do it on output 4, I could do it on output 12 as well. So I could set up 4 different multi-viewers, right? So what do we get when I access this multi-viewer panel? Well, I get my program spaces. I have one program, I call it video wall. Preview spaces. I have a preview space that's preview of my program. My inputs, so all the physical inputs that are on my chassis, and my outputs that I have configured to drive content. Okay, so that's program, preview, inputs, and outputs. I've got some default presets that are ready to load. So if I select load source mon, it loads every input that I have on my chassis, and it stacks them to fill this aspect ratio right here. Okay. I'm going to switch my camera so you can actually see my multi-viewer now. So this is just an HD flat panel. So now you can kind of see what I'm doing on the software and see how it's affecting multi-viewer. Right? So I have 8 sources that are going into my Spyder right now. So that was source monitor by default we call. So let me go back up here and go to load OpMon. Okay, program, preview. That's just 2 defaults that we have for multi-viewer. Okay, well, we've got a lot of capabilities with multi-viewer. I want to be able to handle different windows, and maybe I want to create customize source monitor. Maybe I want to see my program with some sources. So we can customize these presets, and there's a button here that says Save a Preset. So if I want to customize something, yeah, Jason, go ahead. Do you have a question, Jason? Can't hear you, buddy.
Sorry, I've turned my mic on. Timothy is asking, how do you configure an output to be a multi-viewer? So where do you select that output to turn that into a multi-viewer?
So let's go do that right now. So what I'll do is I'll highlight a multi-viewer. I'll put 12. I have it assigned as nothing. There's no resolution to it. So let me load a standard resolution to it. Let's do. Let's just do. We'll stick with 1080 here. Right there. And apply. Okay. I've got an output. It's the normal output, right? So output 4 on every card doesn't have to be a multi-viewer. It can be in normal mode. Well, I want to configure this to be a multi-viewer, right? So under mode, here's multi-viewer. Here's my option if I wanted to do a scaled or an ox. So if I fire off multi-viewer, now I have an empty slate to create multi-viewer for output 12 right there. Okay, real simple way of just changing mode on an output. Now it's multi-viewer mode. Now I can start building and creating. Okay, I have output 8 here. So I'm going to go back to output 8. And here's what you see for my default multi-viewer, right? An operator's monitor, program. I can create off of this particular multi-viewer. So if I can highlight preview, I can remove it. Now I've got this window I can manipulate inside my multi-viewer. And you notice here on the left-hand side, grayed out assets that are not available to me when I have certain windows on the multi-viewer. So I do get all of my inputs that I can drag and drop out in multi-viewer, but my outputs are not something I can access because I get basically one program, one preview, and or one output. And so those are some of the parameters you need to play in when building multi-viewers. So if I drag and drop an input out into my multi-viewer, it shows up on my multi-viewer screen. It's not from the source list. Don't grab here and try to drag and drop because that's not going to apply. It has to be an input reference right here. So I can literally customize, drag out some content here. And then if I find something that I like, this is what I want, awesome. I can save as a preset. So right here, save as preset. Again, I do have some handles up here that I can snap and move around inside my multi-viewer. So use those handles appropriately. It's very similar to layer windowing alignment as well. Okay, save as preset. Now I can custom name it. Well, this is an output 8. I like to kind of name mine by output. So if I have multiple presets for different outputs, like I call this output 8. Multi-viewer, let's just call it A. Okay. Now under here, under this list is where I have my customized multi-viewers that I've already pre-built. Here's the new one that I built. So I can load it, I can edit that name. If I adjust this, and I want it to relearn the same preset, like maybe I wanted it like this. So I can go down to relearn, and it'll kind of save on top of each other, do a save on top. So now it'll follow that, and then delete removes it from your list. So just to show you some of these presets that I have created. Here is a customized source mon, so I'm just going to hit load. So there's my 7 sources. Pretty simple stuff. I just spaced them out. I can add more information on these windows. When I click on a window, I get properties up to the right-hand side here for every one of my windows. So size and position, like input name, size and position inside of that multi-viewer. Border thickness. So if I start tapping on this, I can add thicker borders, and it may be a little bit hard to see on the multi-viewer itself, but I'm adding a thick border. I can change this color. Maybe we want to go yellow. I can show labels, so I can just show, if I activate this, it shows the input number on this upper left-hand source. I can do by source name, so if I activate this, it'll actually apply the naming convention that I have up here in my source list. And I can also add a custom name, media one, and now it populates this here. So very customized application of labels. But I'm also open to moving that label around. So if I don't want it on the top inside, maybe I want it on the top outside. So now I've manipulated that label to be outside the frame of the source, or bottom inside. I can move it left and right, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Okay, let's do the top inside again. Okay, so with that also, I get colors of the text. I can change this from different colored fonts. So maybe I want to have a yellow font. Maybe, oops, yellow font here. Here we go. Now it's a yellow color. I could change that background color of that label itself. So maybe we want to go a nice lime green to pop. There we go. So any one of these labels, you can do this type of creativity on labeling as well. So real simple stuff, nothing too outlandish, but it's great to be able to have those visual markers on these as well. Presets, I'll fire up some different presets that that I like to use, and everybody probably has their own convention on how they do presets. So this was a source mon. This is my standard on. So I like to label in order. Program is red and preview is yellow order. So that's how I like to show my program preview. Program preview. Multiviewer 1. So now I've got all 7 of my sources. I've got them labeled by their source name. I put a border around my sources so I can see their edges. And then I move my program down. Just more visual information. I have more presets I can recall, and what I like to do is build function keys to fire off these presets so I don't have to drill inside here, highlight, and hit load. So what I do is I create a function key. So here's command keys, here's function keys. Right down here. Right click, and I can add a multi-viewer preset. It's going to give me a name convention, so M3. I highlight this. I can, which output of my multi-viewers do I want to recall when I hit this go button? So I'm going to do output 8, and then it'll give me my list of my customized presets that I want to fire off. So maybe it's going to be my scale. When I hit go, now it's just, this is just happens to be programmed scaled up to fill with a border and a label. But now it's as simple as just hitting the goes on these multi-viewers. Go. There's that scale Here's a customized inputs with a program. Again, the source monitor space or source mon. Here's like an all. So here I've what I've done on this one is I've got all my sources that I have are active. I've got a program window, and then I have a program preview as an input. So what I've done is routed out of output 16 down here back to an input is Opmon. So this output 16, if I were to show you that, is a program and preview. I put my customized labels and colors on it. I'm routing that back as an input. And now that is an asset that I can drop on my multiviewer because it's an input. I can drop all my inputs no matter what I've got going on. I don't get it. It's an asset that's available to me. It's not grayed out. So when I do this, it's kind of looping it back as an input. There is a degradation in resolution. So it's really more of a sanity check than anything else. So just keep that in mind if you're going to do that. There is some results that are a little bit less than like a full res. So just be aware of that. So in this particular one, I have it scaled down in the bottom right-hand corner there. There's my Opmon. Okay. Let's fire off a different look here. And here's another one where I've scaled up Opmon a little bit bigger. And then on my actual multiviewer, I've got sources on the left, program preview on the right. And again, program preview in this setting, sanity check. If I want to see it in its best possible resolution, I just pop back into the Go here that I have for program preview. Okay. A nice little feature we can also do is we can set the background color of multiviewer to change. So adding a background color to be something other than black. So if you go down into the grays here, maybe. So that's a nice feature set to do, is drop in different colors in multiviewers. And again, these function keys are fantastic for cycling through different layouts of these multiviewer presets. And let's see here. So really, it's a pretty straightforward process. You just kind of gotta know where the handles are for manipulating some of these windows and content. That kind of highlights what we have for multiviewers. I'm gonna kick it back to Peter here, and he's got some really neat aspects of multiviewer that he could talk about. So let me give this back to Peter.
All right. Should be coming up here. Cool. Thank you, Joel. So I'm showing my screen, and it's basically, I just wanted to show a couple small things and just punctuate a couple things that Joel said. There's a couple of questions in there that I'll address as well. But one thing is, the nice thing is that you can have, I sit here and I do a tick mark every time I say multiviewer because I end up saying multiviewer multiple times when I say multiviewer. So anyway, the nice thing about your multiviewer is that every multiviewer can be a different resolution. Okay, so one can be set at HD and have a whole list of presets for it. Another can be set at UHD and have a whole nother list of presets for it. But you have to be mindful of that resolution because every item you pull into here. So let me go back to my multiviewer 16. I've got a couple of them presets in here that I can just kind of like what Joel is showing you, the the function key option, right? But these are all based on an output that is set to 1920 by 1080. So if I set up another multiviewer, sorry, let me scroll back up here, at UHD, right? It's a different resolution, right? So if I were to quickly just look at one of the presets I have for that HD version, if I click on that item, you'll see right here, it says size and position. You have to be very mindful. That's literal absolute size and position within that raster. I mean, that shows that that particular item, that block, is 330 pixels from the left, 66 pixels from the bottom, and its width is 1252 by 469. I mean, exactly. So it's an absolute value that it's remembering there. So when you do presets and you create a bunch of presets that are at HD, if you try to apply those presets to an output that is not HD, so I'll switch back to 12 here, and I'll go to my preset manager and just try to load one of these HD ones, you'll notice it scales everything up to its absolute position. So it doesn't fit when it's a different resolution, when the output resolution is different, it's going to basically keep those items, those individual items, at their exact size when they were saved. Now, you might be thinking, well, now I have to create a whole, I have to go and rebuild those. I saw a couple of questions, and I apologize for not responding to all when I answered some of these questions. I knew it at the answering the question thing. You cannot multi-select items. To say, so say I put sources here, right? I can't drag and drop I can't select multiples and say, I want this border on all of these. Sorry, can't do that. You have to individually create the look for each one. So that sounds not good, but that's okay, because an easy way to do this, so say you want the same presets that you made for your HD version, but now you want them in a UHD version, right? So fear not, okay? I'll go ahead and clear these off. So what I can do is go ahead and launch an HD version of that one into my UHD monitor. And then what's nice is you can select all these items at the same time, and then go ahead and just simply resize and move that item to where you want and make your adjustments. And it's a relatively, and then go back and save a new preset, and I'll call this UHD Opmon, right? And now in my preset list, I've got UHD Opmon. So that works both ways. Maybe you made a UHD monitor and then you add a second one, and a second multi-viewer at a different resolution. If I were to go back to output 12, and then try to apply that UHD preset, now you can see, again, absolute values make those items whatever the size for 3840 by 2160. Sorry, I got a lot of hand things going on here. So anyway, I wanted to make a point about that. There was a question in the question list here about what is. Let's clear these off here. And one thing to do is people get a little sidetracked in training sometimes with how do you make a new one when you already have one sitting, a preset loaded to a multiviewer. Don't be afraid just to simply grab those and hit delete and clear it out, right? Very easily done. But there, you notice there's a custom section for each one of these. And what that does is, notice if I choose just this particular pixel space and I click on it, these are the properties and the values for that particular item. If I were to remove that, and you can see they go down here to the foreground and background color for the text. But if I choose the custom one, this one adds another section towards the bottom. It says VI section. So now I can choose what portion of the canvas do I want to show, right? I don't have to physically create a custom pixel space, which I'll show you in 1 second. But I can say I want it to be 7,000 pixels wide by, I don't know, 150 pixels tall. Maybe it's I want to capture a ticker or something, and then save that as a multi-viewer preset so I can quickly reference that at any given moment. So that's one way to do that. Now, there's a cool thing. Let me go back to here. Sometimes if you go back and look at this particular configuration I have, it shows a left, a main, and a right. Yeah, that doesn't work very well for what I wanted to show you. But what you can do is you can create custom pixel spaces when you're building your new configuration, and then that way it'll give you more options in the pixel space drop-down list to add to your multi-viewer. So you can go, I'm just gonna go real quickly here. I'm gonna restore something real fast, just a different config. Bear with me, let me pull this off the screen so everybody doesn't have to, I'll put it up there anyway. Let's load this one up here. Oh, real fast. So let's say that this is nice, and I'm just going to go File, New, and then go Load Current, right? So all that's going to do is just basically load that, allow me to edit that particular configuration. So from here, I've got my 5 pixel spaces, but let's say I want a pixel space that just shows house left, widescreen, and house right. And I want that to be a pixel space of choice, right? So I can just simply add another pixel space, right? I'll select my custom one here, and I'll just move it out of the way so I don't inadvertently select others. And I'm gonna call this main displays, okay? And I want it to basically show everything from house left, and I'll just start this up in pixel 00. And I'll just grab the right little section here, whoops. And I just, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact resolution, but I'm just gonna drag it over there to make sure that I cover everything I wanna see, right? And now that pixel space is now part of my view stack, part of my multi-viewer pixel space selection. Okay, so I'll just basically create one more, and I'll do another one for, say, like my 2 DSMs at the bottom of the screen. And I'll call this DSMs combined. And again, this one will also be, I'll go ahead and just match the position of this one by selecting them both, go center, center, and now they're mapped right on top of each other. Deselect, reselect the one I want, and then just resize this the thing to be as big as I want. Now, if you knew the actual math, you could actually go in there and put that in there and make it exactly the width that you wanted to. I just didn't want to dive down in there. So now I can go next, carry that over. I don't have to worry about outputs because I'm not driving any outputs to that particular pixel space. They're just overlaid on top of that. Next, and we'll apply real quick. Okay. Now I've got new pixel spaces here that I can quickly, let me clear the backgrounds on these so we can see through them. Bear with me. Change my view stack back to here. And now you can see I've got names that are overlapping. That's part of the view stack. Again, you can go back to the new configuration manager one and you can see how to do that. But now in my multi-viewer setup, now when I go to create a new preset for my multi-viewer, I'll just take these off. You can see that I now have, where to go? Right up here, combined display. So if I want to see just my DSMs, boom, put that there. And if I wanted to preview and program for that, I could do that as well. And then create a new preset for that. Okay. Yeah, I saw a new question pop in there, Jason, just as you came on the screen there. I'll read it real quick. There's a question: how can I put boxes for outputs and program pixel spaces on the same multi-viewer? I'm gonna, when we do this recording, I'm gonna put in a little text box in there that shows you what the configurations are, what configurations are possible. And just so real quickly, when you go to start creating things, notice the minute I add a program pixel space, regardless of which one, right, it removes any other program pixel space. Okay, so you can only put one program pixel space. And if I go to, say, add a preview, notice when I add the preview for this, boom, the other items disappear from being able to add them. So you can have one program and either one preview or all of your inputs. Okay, you can't, this is not a free-for-all. You can't just put everything in there. That's why we kind of showed you that little, I don't want to call it quite a pro tip. It's just basically take an output, loop it back into an input, and that way you can get your multi-viewer to show the program preview plus all of your inputs. But if I were to remove these off of here, and let's just say I put, let's say I drag a single output out here, right? Now look what I have. I have a single output, and then if I were wanted to take, remember, see how it takes away program, because those resources there's give and takes with those resources. Okay, I can put certain things on there, but it limits what I can do. And the reason there are limits there is because we have the ability to do a multi-viewer on each of those outputs at different resolutions. So it has to generate all that information separately and independently. So I'm sorry we can't put everything and everything on there, but it's just a limitation on that. We're right up there. It's just a limitation. Okay. So if I were to put that single output, I can either put a single pixel space up there, and I'll just pick one, boom, and my resources go away. Or if I delete that one, and I can put all of my inputs, because those resources I can do multiples of. Okay. I think that covers it. I knew this one. I thought this one might go a little longer. I'll try to think of any other comments when we generate the recording, because I've been trying to do my best to do some edits to the recording to kind of draw your attention to what area of the screen we're kind of referencing. But I'll go ahead and make sure that I put that list of combinations of program and preview, program and inputs, preview and outputs, preview and program, all the different combinations, and I'll put them in that on a little text thing on the side of the recording. Jason, Ryan, Jason or Jason and Ryan, Jason and Joel. Any other last minute comments? This was actually a pretty short one. I thought it might go a little longer.
It leads to, it kind of just reveals how simple it is to set up Multiviewer. It doesn't take a 1 hour overview on Multiviewer. It's simple, it's quick. So this webinar played right into that, I think. Yeah, and I've had some people say, that come through training, say they go, some of the competitive products give you a lot more flexibility. Sure, but that means, so here's the thing. Just because we can't put all those items into a single one doesn't mean you couldn't create a preset that just dove right into that particular look and then dive right back out of it. So you can have literally, maybe not infinite presets for each one, but you can definitely have 20, 30, 40 different presets. And then if you have function keys to be able to trigger them, that makes it even that much easier. And then you add some of these external devices like a Stream Deck or something using Companion. Now you can use a button panel to go ahead and switch between those looks without having to go into the GUI and hit the actual function key with your mouse, right? So we'll have another webinar on some of these peripheral devices that really facilitate this, and maybe even some panelists that of the manufacturers. I know at least one that we could probably invite. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Anything else between my cohorts here, Joel, Jason?
I'll just add that there are hooks in the external API that you can switch between presets on your multi-viewer, as well as different output modes. So those hooks are in there for the fixed installations.
Yeah. So when it comes to getting flexible with changing the mode of an output from either normal aux, right, direct aux, or multiviewer, all of those third-party commands are in there to make it easy to be able to switch and make use of an output in a different format or a different way. So yeah, very cool add there. Cool. All right. Well, short and sweet. What are the difference between X80 and X20? Okay. Tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'll open up X20 real fast. Bear with me. I'll open up advanced, right? Take a second here. Not sure what screen it's going to open up on. I gotta look around and see which screen here. Let me just put this up here. So the main difference is that if I click on an output, I can come over here and there's different modes, right? So the nice benefit of this is that in X20, every output, when it comes to normal, Opmon, scaled, or source monitor, every output supports every mode, right? So you can have multiples, it just burns up one of the 8 outputs. We don't have presets for those, and they're not customizable. They're prefixed, they're fixed formatted utility modes for the Spyder. So you get normal, which again, as I described when we talked about system patch, is basically that output is mapped to a portion of the canvas. Scaled takes and scales down any pixel space to a resolution, right? So if I wanted to scale the main screen and scale it to a single monitor, I can do that. Again, you can do that on any output. Opmon can be done on any output. Opmon is configured to be all program and all preview. Okay, can't change it. You could, or there's some advanced techniques to kind of adjust things a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, it's a fixed format. Okay, and same with source monitor, right? You have some options there. If you have a 1608x20, you'll basically get a 4x4 array of all your inputs with some labels of the source name. Or if you have an 0808 X20, you'll just get a 4x2 array to show you those eight inputs. Yeah, so really the differences is that they're not customizable, but a nice little trade-off is that any output can support it, so you can pick whichever one you want. Okay. Yeah, I see another one. So I was told at some point you could run X20 from Studio. That is not the case. Okay, Studio only controls X80. Christie Advanced only controls X20 and the 300 series if you still get your hands on one of those. Okay. I see here we have an X20. Use Advanced. Are there any limitations in Advanced versus Spyder Studio? See, look much. Okay, that's a pretty open-ended question. There are numerous things that are different between the two, but they are more feature set based. The operation between Advanced and Studio is virtually the same. If I were to sit here and just simply toggle back and forth between these two, you're going to see that at a glance, they're all the same panels, they're all in the same position. It's the little features like, you know, backup source and the multi-viewer presets and the different function keys that we've added. But yeah, I would say 95% of the two softwares operate and run the same way. Okay, so there's that was by design, is that we don't have to relearn a completely different user interface for the same product. Okay. See if there's any other questions here. Well, would the Spyder be a good option for a multi-windowed webcast? Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. You take a multi-viewer, feed it into some sort of capture device, and now you have the benefit of that, and then you could change multi-viewer presets to show different pixel spaces, different sources, all program, all preview, whatever you wanted to do. So yeah, might not be a bad way. It's an expensive little combiner, but that's okay. You can do that. I think we got most of the questions covered. I apologize if some of them that I answered, I didn't reply to all, but keep that in your back pocket. Our next webinar will be Friday, this Friday, the 17th, and that will be doing function keys. I'm sure we'll have a pretty decent turnout for that one because function keys are really cool. Okay, so thanks again, Jason. Joel, thank you very much. Unless you guys got more questions real quick, anything? I think we're good. All right, thanks everybody for showing up, and you can look for those videos. I'm seeing about a 2-day turnaround on the posting to the web, to the YouTube channel. So just be patient with that, and I appreciate it. All right, have a good day, everybody.